I'm Stephanie Buffman from the Gladwin County Record and Beaverton Clarion, and I am here with Sarah Kile. Sarah is the Prevention Coordinator for 1016 Recovery Network. Now, obviously, one of the most pervasive problems that's here in Gladwin County in terms of substance abuse is prescription pills. Do you think that has to do with an ease of access?
Well, absolutely. When I first came to this county, when I first started this job here, I remember the sheriff telling me that many of us don't drink alcohol, most of us don't smoke pot. We keep those things out of our house. But unfortunately, many of us have been to the doctor and have gotten a prescription and we throw it in our cabinet and we either don't remember, we don't watch it, we don't. So most people have these substances in their house that can be abused. So if you're looking for, a way to get high, break into just about anyone's house, unfortunately, and many of us have it there. So I think it's everywhere, and it obviously is attractive to people who are looking to abuse a substance.
Certainly. But one thing I've noticed in Gladwin County is that there seems to be a very concerted joint effort to tackle the problem, and I've seen it, efforts between law enforcement, substance abuse specialists, medical professionals. Now, I don't know if it's working yet or not, but can you tell us a little bit about those efforts?
Absolutely. Well, we started coming together under the leadership of our prosecutor and even Mid-Michigan Medical, some of the other doctors, saying, what can we do together? Instead of the doctors working on their own, and I'm over here in the substance abuse field working on my own, and the police are here and the prosecutor, let's come together and see what can we do as a community. And I think out of that has come some really great ideas. I think we're moving forward. Unfortunately, I don't think the problem has gone away by any means, but we are moving, forward, hopefully always. We're continually trying to get better. Even in January, we had a meeting with our doctors and our law enforcement to, again, sit down, and this was, one of many meetings that we've had, to sit down and say, how do we work together? It's still an issue, and we're not going to forget about it until people in our county stop overdosing, until it's not an issue. Because right now, unfortunately, we're seeing, people die of this. So we need to do something, and we have worked together, and that's where we've come up with, the drop box, obviously, which you guys have talked about. I've said many times, we are light years ahead of other counties because we are all working together, and we started doing it before people, even started pushing. Well, communities needed to do something. We knew it was happening. We knew, and we started working together. So I think that we're making some huge headway, and we'll continue to move forward.
Right.
Especially, like I said, as long as there's an issue, I think we need to work together to do something about it.
Now, we have drop boxes here in Gladwin at the City Police Department and in Beaverton at the City Police Department, and we were one of the first communities to get a drop box, let alone have two. Now, what can the average citizen do in terms of trying to keep the prescription pill problem, from becoming an even greater issue than it already is?
Right. For young people, we need to realize that young people, they don't have access to these pills. Doctors usually don't prescribe pills that can make them high or painkillers. And if they do, they're prescribed and then they're under their parents' watch. Well, for young people, what we need to do is always make sure that we're monitoring all of our medicine. And I'm not just saying the painkillers or the specific pills, but every medicine in our home. Unfortunately, young people, have found, you can find on the internet amazing ways to get high off, average substances that all of us have in our house. So you need to monitor all medicines. Make sure that they are locked. They need to be put somewhere where no one can just have easy access. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they put their medicines in a medicine cabinet in their bathroom, and then your bathroom is where you allow people to go. You don't watch them. You have no idea what they're doing. Your medicine needs to be in a place where no one can have access to it without you knowing about it. And then finally, when you have medicine that's old, if you're not using it, if it's expired, you need to dispose of it. Get it out of the house. Make sure that you don't have excess. Because if I have, painkillers that I haven't used in years, when that supply starts to dwindle, I'm not noticing it. I'm not seeing it gone, and then I don't know if someone's taking it. If you do notice something, make sure that you're talking to your family. And I would say the same thing is true with the general population. You have people in your house all the time.
Right.
And unfortunately, if I'm addicted to these substances, then I'm always looking for a way to get them. So if you have me in your home, I may be a trusted friend because you can't see addiction. You can't see if I'm addicted. So you don't think about locking up your meds. You don't think about they shouldn't really be on the counter. They shouldn't be in the medicine cabinet. So making sure that those things are happening, and talk to your doctor. Say, is this something I need? Will an over-the-counter medicine work? maybe I should, think about physical therapy, just to keep those medicines out of our home, because we will become, unfortunately, people, when they know that we have them, we can become targets. And that's a big problem with our elderly population, because there's a very good chance if you're over a certain age that you have these medicines in your house, and you can be taken advantage of. And again, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we're always, always, always monitoring, securing, and disposing.
Being vigilant, being forewarned is being forearmed.
Right.
Right.
And, I've heard before, and I think it's a great analogy, we need to treat medicines, we need to treat these drugs like they're loaded guns. We wouldn't leave a loaded gun on our countertop. We wouldn't leave it in the bathroom for anyone to get their hands on. And, unfortunately, these drugs are killing people in our county. They're killing people all over. And we need to start treating our drugs like they're loaded guns.
Right. One of the other, speaking of targets, one of the other things that we saw recently was the breakings and enterings to the tobacco shops here in town. And one of the things that was taken was a synthetic marijuana type substance called K2 or spice. What is that? Explain it to me.
Right. It is a synthetic chemical compound, usually made into a liquid, and then they spray it on dried leaves, dried herbs, really anything that you can literally physically smoke. And it is chemically similar to marijuana, but it's anywhere from 5 to 200 times more potent, because it's a chemical derivative, and many times it's being made by someone who has very little knowledge of
definitely
of
not a chemistry degree.
Right. They Googled on the internet how to do it, and then they come up with this way to make money. So we really don't know what the component is, but it was originally designed to be chemically similar to the drug in marijuana, and unfortunately it is incredibly addictive. It's unfortunately legal in many cases because it is a chemical compound. So the state of Michigan decides that, okay, we're going to make this specific chemical compound illegal. Well, I can just tweak it a little, and now we have a legal product. And that's why it is sold in our tobacco shops. It's sold, and I haven't seen it in our gas stations, but I know in surrounding areas it is sold in gas stations, and it's easy to get your hands on. And unfortunately, people are, and we're seeing it in our schools. Even though you see a little packet of it, and it does look like a dried herb, because they just spray something on it. But it's marketed, in my mind, very often to kids. They're bubblegum flavored, fruity, loop flavored, and it's supposed to be burned as an incense. That's what it says on the packet, but it also lets you know that it should not be burned.
Right, do not burn. I think I saw it labeled as intimate incense.
Right.
Intimate incense, do not burn, not for human consumption, but the truth of it is, honestly, this is a package that somebody's going to open and they're going to smoke it like they would marijuana, but from what I was reading on the internet, the effects can be vastly different than what, the effects would be if it was just marijuana. I've seen convulsions. People can go into convulsions. Yeah. And, the
paranoid delusions. We have no idea what the long-term effect is, because we know the drug, in marijuana, it takes a long time to leave. That's why it shows up in drug tests. And this is 5 to 20 times or 200 times more potent. We don't know what the effect is. We really don't know what the long term is going to be on humans. And we know that, some people are suffering, and they've been suffering for months. In a couple years, we might know if they stop suffering these consequences.
Right.
But we really don't know what what's going to happen. And it is incredibly, anytime we put something in our body like that, we don't know what it is. We don't know. Even, the Poison Control Center in Michigan, they've tested all kinds of different spice or K2s, and they're all different herbs, they're all dried leaves. They don't, even what they're drying to smoke, we don't know what it is.
Yeah, you don't know what it is.
Right, and we're putting that, unfortunately people are putting that in their body. It's not safe. It's not safe.
No. The other one that I saw, we had a case, it's been a while now, of somebody who was just very deluded and had committed a crime while under the effects of bath salts. And I think we've, some of us have seen videos online of how people react when they're on these bath salts. That is another instance in my mind where the marketing information on the package is completely misleading. If I was a parent and I came across it and it says bath salts, I'm thinking, oh, relaxing, I'm going to have a hot bath, I'm going to put this in here, I'm going to feel great. Tell me exactly what this is. Again, it's synthetic, we don't know what it is, but...
Exactly. Most parents, most people don't understand this is not a bath-related. This
Right.
is not something that I'm going to go to a local store and buy to relax in.
Right.
And that is how it's marketed, because it's marketed as bath salt.
Yep.
But you're not going to go into your average closet and find, vanilla scented bath salts, and you're not going to be able to smoke or ingest.
Right.
But this is a chemical compound that usually comes in a powdery substance, white, off-white, brownish. And people use it to get high. It's incredibly dangerous because, again, it's a synthetic compound that it hasn't been around long enough for us to know what the real, side effects are. It has people experiencing extreme, psychoactive, and they can have delusions for a long period of time. In a hospital very close to us, they have seen an average of 1 a day of people coming in with negative effects. And it is sold in, typically a foil packet that you can rip open, and it's sold typically in 250 milligrams, and most people are smoking 5 to 10. So we could have 25 doses here in one little packet, and if you go on websites that have information from drug users, they say that this is, they smoke it and they've never had a desire to use something so much again quickly. I mean, as soon as they're done smoking it, they feel high, and immediately they just want more. I mean, that's how addictive this is. And, it comes in a packet ready to be, not even experimented with. It's beyond even one use. And, it's another of those chemicals that it changes all the time. You have no idea what it is. And we can't really get a hold on it legally because, let's call this, the white ivory, we'll call that one illegal.
Right.
But then the next one comes along, and, they're as easy to get as clicking on the, mouse on the internet.
Yeah, and maybe they're not as easy to get as prescription drugs, for sure. But there is an ease of access that children can get a hold of these somehow. If I was a parent, what symptoms would I look for in my child?
The immediate effects you would look for behavior that is really just not like your child. You might look for, they're saying things that they wouldn't normally say, they're acting in a way they wouldn't normally act, something that's outside of the norm, if they're on it. And if they're not experiencing the side effects, you might notice something like, missing, money, or things, your kids are hiding things that they seem secretive and they're not usually secretive. And really, you have to ask. You have to look someone in the eye and have a conversation. And even if you want to prevent it, talk to your kids. Say something to them. Make sure they understand the dangers. Unfortunately, young people can make choices that are not safe.
Right.
That's why we educate. We always are saying, and a parent is the best education tool for these things.
And the kids might be hearing, oh, this is legal. This is sold in the stores here. You can get this. This is legal. This isn't. We're not doing anything wrong. Parents need to have that conversation, as awkward as it might be. You need to have that conversation and tell your child it might be quote unquote legal, but it is not right for you, and it is dangerous.
And incredibly dangerous. I mean, again, Google, look for these videos. People are. And there's no better term than flipping out. They have such horrible reactions to it. It is dangerous. It's having these effects that we can't even categorize, because this is kind of new. And there's always going to be a new drug, but you need to have that conversation. It always has to be ongoing.
Right.
Sit down and go home tonight and talk to your kids, but make sure when you sit down to dinner, when you're watching TV and you see something, open up that dialogue so your kids have someone to go to and ask, so that they understand, whatever the new drug is, whatever they name it, whatever they call it. Hey, my mom said, or my dad said, I shouldn't be putting this stuff in. Let's ask. It doesn't matter if it's legal.
Right.
It's there's all kinds of things that are legal. We wouldn't put bleach in our body, but and that's the way we should see the spice, the bath salts.
Definitely. Sir Kyle, thank you for coming in. You are a wonderful asset to our community, for sure. You're definitely on the front lines of defense against substance abuse here, and you're a great friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.